when it finally reached that Yeah, and then like they don't come to meetings. And then just like my phone.
Christine or Marianne, can you unmute and speak just so I can test the audio?
Hi, how are you?
Perfect, thank you.
Hi.
Go back on mute.
She didn't have to, but she wants to. And of course, like.
Meeting of the Madison Public Schools Board of Education. Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, so just for the public's knowledge, we do have two board members who are attending on Zoom this evening, Christine and Marianne. So we'll make sure that we get their input with the stuff on the agenda as well. And our first item is school community session and public participation.
Yes, thank you. Good evening. The board welcomes public comment at our meetings. We ask when speaking to please state your name and address. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. We're happy to hear from the community, but at a business meeting, it should not be expected that the board or administration will respond. It's not a time for public discussion, but if necessary, the community member will be contacted for follow-up. If you're joining us tonight via Zoom, we ask that you raise your hand and you'll be called upon. Is there anyone in person who would like to speak at this time? Is there anyone? Oh, yes, go ahead.
I was reading.
Sure.
Jill Benton, well, I'm from Killingworth. I work for the food service. And I just thought I'd like to tell you that we don't know anything much about this because I think you're voting on it or, gonna officially put the Chartwells thing in hand, but we have a meeting with them where they will tell us what they're gonna offer us, what the jobs are, and we have first refusal for that. And that is May 7th at 1 o'clock. Just thought I'd tell you that's a little.
Thank you.
And I'm sure.
Is there anyone on Zoom who would like to speak? If so, just raise your hand. No. Anyone else in person? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, so next is our Board of Education Student Representatives report. Eli and Brooke, how are you?
Doing good. So this weekend, the spring play happened and I was into the woods and I didn't go, but my friends that did go said it was really good. It was long, it was 3 hours, but they said the acting was great and they said it was a really good performance. We had a representative from the organization Choices Matter come in and talk to everyone in the school about how drunk driving affected his life. And yeah, he went to jail because he killed 2 people while he was driving drunk, and he talked about how it's affected his life and a lot of the negative things that came from it and how he's trying to do better. And then tomorrow an advisory for juniors and seniors, we're going to follow up and talk about drunk driving again. And I'm just really hammering the idea that when you drive under the influence, bad things are going to happen. It's not a possibility, it's a probability. And the talent show is this Friday at 7 o'clock. There are 12 acts and all the money will be going to Habitat for Humanity. spring sports are in full swing. I know the girls lacrosse team just beat Guilford yesterday, which was a really big deal for them. And final preparations for all senior end of the year events are being finalized, and an email will be sent out shortly regarding the dates for those events.
And some more upcoming dates is April 29th is the midpoint to trimester 3, so we're at the home stretch. And AP exams will be beginning starting May 6th. Some fun events coming up is that junior prom information got sent out yesterday. It's in a couple weeks, so we're all preparing for that. It'll be really fun. And the K through 12 art show will be tomorrow evening. And this is supposed to be for like the whole community, not just hand students and parents. So we're gonna show all art from all the grade levels and hoping for really high attendance. And lastly, the XL Club will be holding a Mother's Day flower fundraiser as Mother's Day approaches, and all the money going from that fundraiser will help support the XL Club.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for our students?
No, but junior prom date is May 7th, right? So, and the Sunday is the orchestra.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Well,
Thanks.
good luck with AP test. If you have any before we see you again,
Coming up.
that'll be great.
Eli, you don't have to worry about it.
I won.
Okay, there we go.
Thank you.
All right, superintendent's report, Dr. Cooke.
I just want to echo what Eli shared. I went to Into the Woods and Gail went Saturday. I went Saturday night. It was great acting and just an excellent performance. It was neat to see the end. I had gone every year, but I hadn't made the final performance where they do some student speeches, things like that. So it's really, really nice. It was a long play, but and I hadn't seen it before, but it was really well done. The students had a phenomenal time. It was well attended. There's 4 performances, so it was very well attended. So congratulations to the school on that. Also want to share, I know the board is aware and public as well probably, but just some quick couple words on the groundbreaking ceremony. It was really special event to be able to kick off. Really, it's been happening for several weeks, but the building project for kind of the real tangible piece, and so much work is happening each day. If you drive by there, there's more progress there, pouring footings and doing a lot of work, and so we're really excited about that. Have some items on the list. I'm going to start with the bottom 2, and then we'll come back to the last one. Just a quick words. There's no action item on the agenda tonight for future use of our current pre-K to 3 buildings, but the first select woman, Peggy Lyons, had asked the status, and I said that I would start some of those discussions with the board. There's no definitive time frame and when this needs to be done, and in fact we would not take any formal action under my recommendation until after we're sure we're on pace, full pace, and have the keys to a new building and ready to go in 2025. But just as we start to plan, as we know, we have 3 facilities that would not be utilized starting with the 25-26 school year. That being TCLC, which is our portable units that are our pre-K building. I know in the past, and when we talked about the building project, the plan with those would be sold or discarded. They're past pretty much their usable life for us, and I don't see any future uses for those portables, and that area then would be available to the town to expand for recreational facilities would be most likely what I would see, but that's certainly not my decision. Ryerson, as we went through the school building project, there was discussion and even money set aside at points for the leveling of Ryerson Elementary School. We did conduct a tour for a private school that asked to see the building. So Ryerson Principal Spooner gave a tour to them. We have not heard back from them yet. If that's still under consideration, but certainly, again, that is a town decision. And even the ultimately, if they decide to level the building, that's a town decision. We would grant the keys back to the town. I personally don't feel we have any future use for Ryerson after the 25-26 school years is started. And then Jeffrey Elementary School is the third facility. At this point, you know, I think that's probably where the board would want to focus its discussion on, if there's a use for that. It does have portable units attached to that building, so there's an option to remove portables. You know, again, I think that's where the town is most interested in hearing from the board is you know, what the discussion on that would be. Again, not a decision where you know, under the clock to make the decision on at this point. But I think what Ms. Lyons' most interest is a discussion on Ryerson, you know, an indication of what the board's plans would be for Ryerson Elementary School. So I will bring this back to the executive committee and we'll put it on a future agenda. But I just wanted to share that with you, that's a request we received and we will honor. And I wanted to recognize our administrative professionals throughout the district. Tomorrow we're holding an event here for our administrative professionals in the central office. I know our schools will recognize them. They do just a phenomenal job. They're, you know, often the first contact with families, you know, whether they're registering for us as first time in their district or whether, you know, they're coming into the school to take a tour or see the school. And so it's just, you know, phenomenal job that we could not run the district, the buildings, board meetings for them. So we thank our administrative professionals throughout the district and look forward to celebrating them throughout the week. In terms of then back to the Chartwells food service agreement, that is on the agenda for Mr. Sickle and myself to address. We're open to any discussion at this point or through the when it's time for a vote. There was a question on the contract that we provided board members with an answer this afternoon. I do want to thank Art Sickle. When the board took their action in December, he immediately started working on a successor agreement really for 7 years of individual contracts we've had with Chartwells. This is been a lot of work for Art, and he's excellent at attention to detail. So I really thank him for everything he's done to bring us to this point. And I think he's done a great job of keeping the board interest at the forefront, as well as our you know, employees that, as was mentioned, thank you, Jill, and I plan to share, we do have a job fair and information session planned for May 7th. So pending the board's approval tonight. So we're looking forward to you know, should be able to share that information with our current employees and soon to be Chartwells employees, but we look forward to a long relationship with them and our schools serving breakfast and lunch to our students and staff. So that I will turn it over to Art, or we would answer any questions.
Sure. I just wanted to take a minute and point out the major changes in the contract this time around. You know, in the past, we have been working off of a main document and then putting in annual amendments to just keep extending it a year. The biggest change that we have, and these ladies behind me, Carol and Jill, know, it's that the employees are going to basically come from Chartwells. Right now, they're Madison Public Schools employees, and Chartwells has a manager here, a dining services director, who's excellent, Joe Barago. Many of you know him. And excuse me, it's an unusual situation to have a food service management company managing the employees of the district. It happens, but it's not very common. And we're trying to kind of get into that position. And as you know, this started with the MAGE contract. This is a contract for services, not a labor contract that we're talking about tonight. This is the agreement between Chartwells and the Madison Public Schools and Madison Board of Education. And the biggest change is that Chartwells will supply the lake, all of it. And you know, that once this is approved, hopefully, the questions that a lot of folks have in food service now will be answered. But I can point out in the contract that we're very careful to make sure that all of the employees that are current Madison Public Schools food service employees, as long as they are food service employees as of up to the effective date of the contract, working in food service here, they will have the right of first refusal. It's a shall. They shall have the right of first refusal for, you know, food service positions with Chartwells. And that's what the job fair will be here to explain, the different job titles that they have, the responsibilities of each one, and the details of how much, you know, salaries and that sort of thing, hourly wages. So the biggest change is that we do have a 1-year agreement, starts July 1st, 2024, and they will have succession of 1-year renewals that we can basically terminate the agreement up to, you know, a certain point in time. Anytime. There's a number of different reasons you can terminate the agreement, but they are basically optional 1-year renewals that we're going to do, hopefully. Again, administrative and management fees are what Chartwells basically gets paid, that are their fees for the services that they provide. There are 2 different fees. One is a fixed fee that's right now it's $9,452 a month for 10 months. That is going up about 5.1% to $9,934 per month. And then there's another fee that is not fixed, it's variable based on the revenue, the sales revenue. So they compute, we agree to the factors that we use to compute the number of meal equivalents, that is all the sales revenue, and basically divided by what we agree is approximately the average meal price of $4. So all the sales revenue of all types come in, divided by $4 to get the number of meal equivalents. And then this year it's been 6 cents per meal equivalent. Next year with this contract, it'll be 6.31 cents. That's also about 5.1%. Maybe 5.17. It's getting 5.1 and 5.2 is very close to that. In the past, it's been about 110,000 combined total, perhaps thereabouts. And the smaller one is the 6 cent variable. The other thing that's different, we currently have a stop loss guarantee up to $60,000, but because there's a number of unknowns, the stop loss guarantee goes up to $100,000, which I think was pretty fair, given the fact that right now on our P&L, it does not show the medical benefits for our employees coming out of the food service fund. It comes out of our employees' benefits funds. So they're absorbing the medical benefits that will, you know, go with the new jobs for Chartwells. So they're not 100% sure who's going to take what and how it's going to go. So, and especially since we haven't signed the agreement yet. So they were, I think, pretty fair with the 100,000. We started at about 155,000. We came back down to first a little bit closer. So I think, you know, those are the highlights of the changes. And we've had a long experience with Chartwells. It's been very, very positive overall. And I'm happy to entertain any questions that you might have. Yes.
So I did notice that it was a 1-year contract, and I thought maybe that had something to do with, because we're changing buildings and the number of schools are going to change, the kitchens will change, etc. Although the students will just be redistributed, but that might affect the types of meals that they offer. And so I didn't know if that was the reason for the 1 year, or it's just going to be 1 year every year going forward, or until we figure out what we're doing. Or,
you know, we modeled it after what the National School Lunch Program always required, which is only a 1 year with optional renewals. And that's what it always has been. And, you know, on the National School Lunch Program, if they go out to bid every 5 years, it's still a one-year contract with optional renewals. That's a good thing. It gives us some flexibility, especially with, as you mentioned, the thing that will change when we reconfigure the district is gonna be the number of kitchens. So it may require the same amount of staff, but it's different. It'll be a different configuration, and you're right, where right now Brown is 4 or 5, grades 4 and 5. The kitchen's gonna be handling pre-K through 5. So
So I'd
there'll be
imagine
different
it's-
options at different grade levels, and I'm sure that they won't be mixed in the waves, I'm quite sure. I can't speak for how the buildings are gonna schedule everybody, but generally the classes kind of stay, with each other, so. There will be changes, and this gives us some flexibility, plus we can renegotiate anything that didn't work out. Financially, we have the opportunity every year to renegotiate.
And they're going to continue the same type of food offerings and choices that we currently have. They're not gonna change any of that.
Hopefully, if there's any change, it'll just be more. We don't expect to do anything less, since it's all driven by, students being happy with the program, and then adults too, of course. So,
My understanding is that there was some discussion about some laws changing either at the federal or state level that would make it more advantageous for us to potentially rejoin the federal school lunch program. Currently, we do not partake because we found it too confining. And our students reported enjoying a broader array of choices and not being stuck with the strictures of the what the federal government considers more healthy foods. It's worked out very well for us, but is there provision in this contract other than just that, we could change it at the end of the year? If we had to rejoin the federal school lunch program for some reason?
I'm not too concerned about that. I don't, I'm pretty sure the funding has been exhausted for Connecticut anyway, as far as, even the National School Lunch Program schools are not getting it free at this point. I kind of highly doubt that it'll continue that way. But if it should do that, all bets would be off here, because you would then have to go out to bid again, start from scratch, and get a fully compliant National School Lunch Program contract in place. So, we were under the National School Lunch Program with Chartwells before, and, to review ancient history, we were with, at one point or another, we were with Aramark, Marriott, Whitson's, Chartwells. We've had all the heavy hitters. And we've been on National School Lunch Program, for a lot longer than we've not been on it. But I think that this, I hope it's just a major anomaly that we went through for a couple of years. And, I don't think that, I don't see that happening. But again, 1 year, if we do have one to go without taking any federal monies, at least it's just a year.
Yeah.
Under the Chartwell contract, the food service employees are 9-month employees. And then are they eligible to file for unemployment?
Yes.
During,
That's a big difference for the employee. That, they're gonna be school year employees. Well, I'm sorry, they are school year employees now, so having taken a job that is only the school year, you're not eligible to collect unemployment over the summer or on the Christmas break or on April break. In this situation, they will be full-time employees with Chartwells, or whatever hours they've agreed to. But they will be eligible for summer, to collect unemployment in the summer, over the Christmas holidays, over the breaks. So that is something that's a benefit. I can't speak to what rates are going to be. That's something that's being determined as we speak, and there's obviously waiting to. There are union issues, of course, if enough of our employees go over to Chartwells, which we hope they'll all go over to Chartwells. Chartwells will be negotiated with the union. And if only a few go over, then maybe not, but That's something that's unforeseen, that it's not seeable right now. So, you know, I don't know what the rate will be, but the idea would be nobody really gets any kind of cut. You know, it may require that we factor in the unemployment. And the unemployment might have to be factored in to make that happen. I don't know what that'll be. And we'll hopefully learn more on this.
So, I'm sorry, you done, Stephen? Are you done? I'm sorry, I just wanted to
I
make sure.
I had a question.
Yeah,
If
Christine, go
Seth,
ahead.
you wanna go first?
Christine, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks. So thank you very much. I appreciate the fact that there was a right of first refusal for our employees in the contract. I didn't see that at first. But I do have a question on how the flow of labor cost is going to flow down to Madison Public Schools. If Chartwells is, we don't know what the cost per employee is going to be, and we're obviously going to have to incur that cost. So where is that verbiage in the contract?
Specifically, it's where Chartwells is supplying the labor. Now, they don't have the cost for the labor right, you know, as of yet, because there's too many unknowns, as I was saying, with negotiations, if necessary, with the employee union, if they were to keep one. The problems are that they are plus or minus how much the wages would be, factoring in unemployment opportunities and that sort of thing. Where this will show up, though, on the P&L is going to be where there's administrative labor right now that shows up, which is just the dining services director and one clerical person from Chartwells. Well, there will be hourly people from Chartwells that will show up in the same place on the P&L. And right now, our labor, right now, Chartwells, they're taking our employees' timesheets and working with our payroll department to reconcile and make sure as our payment, as our payroll department pays them, those charges get transferred over to the P&L. And that's where it's calculated how much we pay in an invoice each month. You know, everything gets factored in there, including purchases that Chartwells makes for us.
I agree, but how do you sign a contract at this point when that's a huge variable number that we have no idea what it would be? Although Chartwells is paying for it, we're eventually going to get hit with that. So how do we know what that is?
Yeah, well, technically Chartwells is not paying for it. Technically, you know, they pay the employees and whatever their benefits are. But technically that cost gets passed to the food service operation and gets netted hopefully off out of the revenue. You know, the revenue that we're generating is causing it. And what we pay to Chartwells is an administrative fee and a management fee.
Yeah.
And the cost of the labor is part of the operational P&L. So,
But Art, with all due respect, that's the way it's always been since if we were paying for the employees. So I think my point is that I'm looking at this, and the year-to-date benefits is $31,000 projected for 23-24. So our cost savings when we voted on this was how much money that we were going to save? I don't recall.
Medical benefits. I think you're not looking at all of it. Let me refresh my memory on my notes here.
I would say we never voted on a number because we didn't know that number because the contract wasn't negotiated yet.
No, I agree. But what we voted on was a net savings by basically displacing the 20 employees that we're getting rid of that are Madison school employees. So that there was a number that we agreed, I didn't, that was going to be the net number savings. What number was that?
You know something, I'm not sure that I printed that one off. I have it here somewhere though. Let me just take a peek. I do believe that we were talking about approximately $135,000 in medical benefits. And I don't believe anybody ever said that that was a savings. That was a cost that is showing up in our HR line items and not out of the food service fund right now.
Right.
What we
Right.
were cautioning is that those numbers are going to now be in the food service fund for the food service operation to cover. And the
Yeah.
questions are all about
Yes.
whether or not it'll cover it, because, you know, we are losing money right now, not even looking at the 135,000.
Right.
So
But
you're looking
But we
at,
still, right, but we still have no, so first of all, I'm looking at the sheets that you sent out that I had asked for. And
Yeah.
it says district fringe, medical benefits, dental and pension. And if you look over to the right for 179 days, it's $31,000. So that can't possibly be that 20 employees are taking the medical benefits
right,
that we're offering.
right. And a
It's
lot of
totally
that has
fine.
to do with, some attrition over time.
Right.
But the fringe without the medical benefits and the dental is that, if you see that, it says direct fringe, that's essentially payroll, taxes, and not much else. It's FICA Medi. So the 31,000, that's just the FICA Medi for the most part. If you look down below that, the projected medical and dental is 89,900.
Okay, I see that.
And then the projected pension numbers are 14. So
Yeah.
that comes out to, a little over 100, right?
I see it.
So that's where that is.
Yeah. So I still go back to the fact that at some point, the cost of any employee coming from Chartwells, the cost, FICA, Medicare, benefits, whatever else you want to add in there, will flow. It could flow to a P&L. It could flow to a trial balance, but it's flowing to Madison Public Schools. Irregardless of how we want to word that, we are still, Madison Public is still getting hit with that money and that fee, correct?
Yes, but the revenue from the food service is going to be applied to it if we can make enough revenue. Right now,
Yes.
we're not making enough revenue. You know, we're at a loss right now without accounting for the HR benefits. We're around a $25,000 loss right now for this year. And we're hoping to hold it at that for this year. And that's a very good performance for the historical performance of the program. So, you know, everything that Chartwells can do to generate as much into sales as possible is going to hopefully cover some of that. But this is it will be a more accurate portrayal of what a food service costs and what it has always cost.
Mhm.
It's always cost the HR benefits for our employees. And the reason Chartwells would not put it in their P&L is because they give us a performance guarantee. And until now, they have not had any control at all over what the medical benefits are for our employees or whatever other pension or any other expenses. They don't negotiate with our union employees. So, you know, that's why HR benefits don't show up on the, operational P&L. They will now because they're all employees, and that will be, hopefully something that we can improve our revenue and cover some of it. But if not, at least it will be the accurate demonstration of what, the food service costs actually are.
Mhm.
Some of the discussion that I recall when we last addressed this, and I know it didn't necessarily, it wasn't necessarily satisfactory to all the board members, but I do recall some of the discussion surrounded, this is beneficial in other ways. For example, a lot of school districts are not really in the business of food service. And we might find it more advantageous for us to not be in the business of food service by having the staffing go over, as we had planned potentially a year ago in the last contract. it gets us out of the business of hiring, managing a food service operation so that we can focus more on what we're trying to do, which is educate the students. And it also gives us a bit of a buffer because, we've not been very successful, it turns out, as we've gone out and tried to hire to fill holes. And it's been an inefficient operation as a result. And so part of our understanding, especially, I'm glad to see that Art was able to negotiate a return to a higher stopgap figure. I think this gives us a good level of insulation from running an operation that is a little bit divergent from our mission. Anybody have any other questions or?
Yeah, so I have another question. So,
Okay,
but yeah, is this the time to discuss? Yes.
yes, please go ahead.
So my other comment is about the equipment, and the note came back that there is nothing in the contract with regards to buying equipment or financing it through Chartwells, even though that's usually a caveat in a food service contract. But I'm told that the equipment is fully depreciated in all schools. So that would tell me that this equipment is fairly old. So what do we have in place for subsidizing equipment when it breaks or it has to be repaired or fixed?
I can speak to that. We use CIP, so we use CIP to buy whether it's a freezer or a major piece of equipment. Obviously, the new school will have all brand new equipment. Dahling-Hench also in good shape, but they are in decent shape. It's just that we have purchased equipment throughout. Sorry,
We haven't purchased anything through the Chartwells programs, equipment wise, for at least 5 years. However, 5 years is their depreciation schedule. No matter what, because they have a 5-year.
Right.
So
And
I mean,
that's exactly my point.
yeah, but
So
it's
if
not
5 years,
necessarily,
yeah,
5 years,
right.
5 years for, a stove or a walk-in freezer or refrigerator is not necessarily an old piece of equipment. But I do think that we have some old equipment, and it is some stuff that needs to be considered as far as replaceable.
Mhm.
These are, like I said, 1-year agreements. We can enter into it with them. But I will say that every one of those food service companies that I mentioned before does the exact same thing. They sell it as a benefit to you, that they'll do something basically for free for you. And they want the depreciation will be charged against your food service program, so it's like free, but it's not. It's
Well,
coming
yeah,
off the
nothing's
P&L.
free. Yeah,
Nothing's
I
free,
understand.
that's for
I
sure.
understand that.
So
And-
so I mean, when we're looking at the P&L, if we're losing money at this point, I'd rather finance it outside with all the other ways we buy equipment if we can,
Mhm.
than have that added to the burden of the operating budget for the P&L. So I mean, we've just not done it. We have the opportunity to do it whenever we want. But it's not in this 1-year agreement, and it hasn't been in at least 5 years.
Right. I would advocate going out to bid in 25 when this contract is over. I think that's the only way that you could actually really set the scope of the bid and then see what comes back. And then at least you have comparables. So I understand that we tend to like to extend the agreement, but the real way to do business, if we're treating it as a business, according to what Seth is saying, is to go out to bid.
I think our piece on that is we lose our protection for the employees. So our piece with going to Chartwells is we had that right of first refusal. Now we'd be, and if we went out to bid and went with a different company, they would then be going through this process again a year from
Right, but we can't be held hostage because we're writing a contract and we're giving them right of first refusal. Then the contract should have been written differently and they should have been guaranteed a position for longer then. I realize this is only a year, but I mean, we are the ones that chose to do this to the employees.
But we can't go beyond the contract. The
I
contract.
I understand that, and that is why I did not vote for that. So,
Any other questions or discussion? And we will have an opportunity to discuss again briefly when the action item comes up and ask any further questions we might have of Art. Art, thank you very much. Thank you all, and Craig,
That completes my report. Thank you.
concludes your report. Thank you very much. All right, board member comments. I would like to just briefly kick this off by commenting that like Dr. Cooke, I was fortunate enough to attend, as were some of us, to attend the groundbreaking for Neck River Elementary School. It was a beautiful day. What struck me was how beautiful and majestic that property is. I can't tell you how exciting it is to go there and to see, like, you know, you see it on paper, you see it in blueprints and plans, and it feels like it's gonna be squished in. It is a big, beautiful property bounded by trees everywhere and a river that runs down through the bottom of the property. And it is just gonna be, you know, another crown jewel of our district. And it was just exciting to be there, to see the work starting. And I think the whole town can be proud of where it's headed. So that's my comment. Any other board member comments? Anyone online, board members? Okay, thank you. All right, item 6, audience response to information presented. Anyone in the audience here? No?
You can speak.
Yes, about something that was discussed already on the agenda.
Well, I'd just like to say, as far as Chartwells, I'm pretty sure you can get their benefits if you work 8 hours.
But not 6.
Yeah, not ours.
No benefits.
We would not get any benefits. And
We've
I'm
already-
pretty sure we won't.
We've already looked into that, and we're all 6-hour employees, most of us.
Yeah.
There'll be no benefits as far as that goes. But.
Nice, and we don't typically respond to audience
Right.
participation. I hope you understand.
Yeah, we
Thank you.
understand.
Thank you for sharing this. with us. Anyone online? So, no, okay. Okay, so moving on to item 7, board committees and liaison updates, curriculum and student development committee, Steve.
We have not met since our last meeting.
Okay, so no report there. Facilities committee, Emily,
No report, we meet next May 7th.
thank you. Finance committee, Galen, I know you have. a report.
Yes, thanks, Seth. The finance committee met tonight at 5:30. Emily, Seth, and myself were in attendance along with Dr. Cooke and Stacy Novus. We had 3 items on the agenda. We discussed the 23-24 budget closeout, the 24-25 budget reduction of $240,000, as requested by the Board of Finance. And then we had a brief-form discussion on future budget considerations. So the first couple items are just an update on things you already know. The special education is running a deficit, largely due to an unexpected change in the law mandating that we say coverage for 22-year-olds. Secondly, we had some additional outplacements. Dr. Cooke has prepared a letter to the Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance, requesting that they apply the $226,000 that returned to the town last year to be applied for special ed. The deficit is tracking a little higher. We're looking for line item transfers. Stacy is looking at payroll, freezing the main building accounts, encumbering them until the end of the school year. There's also an athletics deficit, because our teams keep doing so well, they have transportation costs. But we're, we trust that the admin team and Stacy to find this money. Referendum date is set for May 14th, as you know. And Dr. Cooke gave us some additional detail on the itemization of the $240,000 in cuts. We're reasonably confident that we can apply ARPA funds for about $75,000 to $80,000 towards band uniforms. We are setting aside less money for the possible reading mandate. Am I missing anything towards that? We have the sheet. Yeah, that's just a little detail. Gail made a sacrifice. She was able to reallocate some money that was not used for curriculum writing towards this, technically doing props. That was possible. That brings us to the third item on the agenda, which is looking at head. And for the 25-26 and beyond. As you know, we have some large contracts to renegotiate. We have CIP needs. We have possible fiber replacement with the Wi-Fi from the district. We have to make provisions for the reading program, if possible. We've locked in some low cost for our utilities and fuel, which is good. So this is just a general look ahead at some of the challenges that we might face with the budget. We wrapped it up at 5:50. But now we go to the comments and questions.
Yes, questions for Steve?
I have a question.
Sorry, for the Galen.
Oh, Marion.
Yes, Mary.
So you said that you have a list of the cuts, itemization. Do you have that?
Yeah, and I pick that up and then deliver it to much more capable hands.
Is it finalized or this is just the?
Nothing has changed since the last time we talked about it. It was the sheet that was provided to the board previously. And so we had $40,000, as you remember, that was unidentified because that was a door reduction. The 200,000 had been identified before. I will just run through that. It was 90,000 from what the board's approved budget was. $90,000 in band uniforms, $40,000 in the final phase of the Daniel-Hand Bridge furniture. There was desk and chairs from both Ryerson and Jeffrey. It was $19,438 at Ryerson and $8,500 at Jeffrey. And then there was a reduction to the reading waiver funds of $50,000 to bring that to the $200,000. The remaining $40,000 we had looked at, we discussed potentially looking at the reading waiver again, or any other potential positive news that comes through. I explained to the committee, we've seen some retirements, but not in the numbers that we've seen in other years. So we're not sure that that's going to yield us savings at this point. But we would go back to that after the budget is approved by the voters.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you. Good report. Personnel Committee, Maureen is out of town and is unable to join us this evening, but I know that she would like everyone to know that an initial meeting with the Teamsters Union was scheduled, then it had to be unscheduled by them and rescheduled, but that is coming up. Nothing else to report there other than that's, that'll be the outset of our negotiations with the Teamsters Union. Policy Committee, Diane.
Policy committee met this evening. It was Gail and myself, Seth and Craig. We discussed some 5,000 series policies for rescission that you will see at the next Board of Ed meeting as action items for the possibility of waiving the second read. But then we are discussing the end of the 9,000 series. So the last 3 9,000 series Policies were discussed for review. They have been revised from the previous meeting. Also, a new policy 4400 gifts to employees was revised from the previous meeting. And there's a new regulation that you will see in your packet at the next meeting regarding immunizations. That is not an action item because it is not a policy. It is something that is required to be regulation. So it'll be in your packet for informational purposes. And we discussed a couple 5,000 series, which one has a regulation regarding hair lice. And then we did 5,000 series electronic surveillance, which will be moved to the 4,000 series. And that we will see as first reads in your next packet. For this evening, we have action items. Policies for rescission for a second read, 9,000 series, 9550 board hearings, appeal proceedings, 9850 board member insurance liability, and policies for review with a second read, 9440 board superintendent relationship, 9540.5 parliamentarian, 9540.12 broadcasting / taping of meetings, and policy 3542.4 meal charging. And if anyone has any questions regarding those policies, you should have a copy of the shipment and goodwin notes regarding those policies in your packet. And we can also discuss them when they are brought up as an action item after the motions have been seconded. And just report.
Any questions? Seeing none. Thank you. And learn liaison, Mary Ann.
Hi, yes, we met on Thursday. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Thursday, we had superintendent's perspective from Salem Public Schools, Brian Hendrickson, who presented a very interesting perspective because his school district is so small compared to others. So it's very interesting to hear all the different superintendents and how they handle things. That was one. And then I think the main thing that I learned from Learn is they have an I Choose Success program, which I think Steve Pynn and a lot of us who are interested in the technology part of education is a new program that they're trying to put together with artificial intelligence and I want to say virtual reality, actually, and where they can take the students in and put the students headphones on them and show them different ways of taking care of cars and plumbing and all kinds of technical and non, I would say academic, but not really. Anyway, I think it's very interesting. They said they have room for like 12 students. They're going to try it out and we'll see what happens. I think it would be something that maybe Madison schools and every school might be interested in getting into for students who are interested in that.
Thank you, Mary Ann. Any questions? Questions for Mary Ann? No? Thank you very much. Okay, so now we move on to the action items, and item number 8. I need a motion to approve the proposed agreement dated July 1st, 2024 between the Madison Board of Education and Compass Group USA Incorporated by and through its Chartwells division as presented. So I have a motion, Diane. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Emily, thank you. Okay, so I have a motion and a second, so I'll open it up to another round of discussion or any questions you may have. Art is still here.
I'd just like to say thank you to Art. I know he's worked hard on this agreement as well as our legal staff. I appreciate all the work. I know you've always worked hard with Chartwells on the agreements, and I trust your judgment, and I think that we've worked well with Chartwells. I know we have a history with them, and I appreciate that they are, being flexible, especially with the changes coming to the buildings next year. And I just want to thank you for your work.
So, anyone else?
I guess I have
Yeah,
one.
go ahead, Mary Ann.
So I understand, I appreciate what Art has done also, and I appreciate Chartwells. But to Christine's point, will there ever come a point in time where maybe we do need to look elsewhere for food services. I mean, I've worked in the schools, kind of know how food service can be. Will that ever happen, or will this just be continuum forever?
Yeah, I mean, I think from my perspective, we'd look at that if we were unhappy with the services or we felt we needed to look at things financially differently. Like if we were losing more money than we anticipated or lost control over things. I think that there's multiple options going forward, but as you've said and others have said, we've had a good relationship with Chartwells. We've had that good experience, and we have, I feel, more control going into this contract than we would if we were going out to bid. But I know I see mostly benefits to a one-year contract versus a longer contract. I know that there's some negatives to it as well, but I think that one-year contract gives us a chance. We're going to be watching this extremely closely. As we always have been, but we're going to be watching it extremely closely as we're in a new relationship and a new situation.
And I have one other question. So when it comes to the cafeteria workers, I understand that their contract was taken away. They originally worked for us, correct? Not for Chartwell. They were.
When they negotiated, but the negotiated agreement that they arrived at ended their relationship potentially at the end of this year, and that's the action the board took in December.
Right. So will it ever come back to where they would be put back with us, or? I mean, could they renegotiate their contract to be a part of us, or would we never do that?
It's a board action.
That would be a board action, and that would be there is that potential down the road. I don't want to give false hope that that's something to consider, because there was it was a lot to get to this point, and I don't see the reasons that led to this action changing anytime soon.
Okay, I was just wondering.
Yeah, no, it's a good question.
I have a quick question for Art. So it had come up in previous discussions months ago that we have gone out to bid before, and I believe the problem was that Chartwells was the only one that bid. Is that correct?
That has happened.
It has happened.
We've gone out multiple times. And when we were on the NSLP, we had to go out at least every 5 years. There were times when all the nutritional values and things were changing. Lots of legislative changes were going on. Then the state, I don't know if the state had some snafu with some of the language in their template or what, but many districts had to go back out at the 3-year. And we were one of those districts. So, I mean, we have gone out multiple times, but what will happen is, excuse me, you usually have a walkthrough of all the potential vendors that are going to bid. And you'll often make that a mandatory walkthrough so that they can all see the conditions of the kitchens and the district in general. And often they will show up for the mandatory walkthrough so that their competitors know that they're not alone. Because if, God forbid, only one vendor shows up and it's a mandatory walkthrough, well, they know that they're in the driver's seat at that point. So we have had situations, and I'm not sure if it was with Chartwells or not, where they were the only one who responded, and they were this last time that we went out to bid. They were the only ones.
So I just wanted to make a point based on your experience. You've been dealing with this for a very long time as head of the food service, is that it's not that we don't go out to bid ever. We have definitely gone out to bid, except we are choosing to stay with Chartwells for many reasons. One of which is our good relationship, and the other of which was the fact that we know we're going into next year with a very large change in our facilities that is going to change a lot with how you would provide the services. And I just wanted to make that point. Thank you, Art.
Any other questions or comments? I would again just reiterate what we said back in December when we had this debate and voted ultimately to get out of the direct food service business, that we greatly appreciate everything that our food service staff does. We know that they work hard, we know you work hard, we know you love our children, and you love coming to work, and we greatly appreciate that. You know, this is nothing personal. It's not an indication of rejection of our food service workers, who we greatly honor and respect. And again, you know, I'm a big boy. When I was a kid, the lunch ladies were my favorite people at school, even more than the teachers. And I was a double lunch kid, but hard to believe. You know, we see this as an opportunity, not only to extricate the district from a business we shouldn't really be in, and to narrow our scope and focus to what our mission truly is in educating the students. But we also tried to plan in such a way that, you know, there would be some cushion, that you would have a soft landing. And that the food service folks would have a soft landing, and that was important to, I would say, to all the board members. You know, I've heard comments from all of them that are very similar. So, you know, we don't take any joy in doing this, just like we didn't take any joy in, you know, voting last meeting that we had to, you know, we had to cut a couple teachers, right? But it's something that we have to, you know, we have to keep faith with the community and do what's right for the students. And we hope you understand, and we thank you again for your service, and hope you continue on with Chartwells, if this gets voted on. So unless anyone has any other questions or comments, and I don't see any, I'd like to call the vote. All in favor of the motion to approve the proposed agreement dated July 1st, 2024, between the Madison Board of Education and Compass Group USA Incorporated, by and through its Chartwells division, as presented. In favor, say aye. 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 All opposed, nay. Any
Nay.
abstentions? That was a nay?
For myself.
It was.
Okay, thank you, Christine. Okay, so we have. Okay, so there's 8 people here, so the motion carried 7-1. Okay, thank you all. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Next action item 9. I need a motion to adopt the AP psychology textbook.
So moved. Second.
Let's do that with Steve. Steve, and seconded by Diane.
Sure.
Okay. All right, Steve, did you want to say anything about that?
No, I really commented in the minutes from the last meeting, so.
Okay.
Essentially, it's the AP approved textbook that we need for the AP course. And it's the most updated one, so that's it, thanks.
Right, we have no choice. I mean, if we could buy it with wheels on it, because it's so heavy, maybe that would help, but.
Oh my God, I love that, this limitation from student perspective, weight of the textbook. Oh, I love that. That's
Well, it's a heavy subject, anyway. All right, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries 8-0, thank you. Action item 10. I need a motion to approve the international trip to London and Paris in projected for spring of 2025. So moved. Moved by Stephen. Do I have a second?
Second.
Diane. Any discussion?
You know, I'd just like to say this for, in addition to being obviously a great opportunity for the students. It is designed around a STEM theme, so there are a number of activities built into this that are, you know, a particular educational value.
I agree. It was exciting to see. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, aye. All opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries 8-0. Thank you. Action item 11, I need a motion to approve the following curriculum units. Grade 6 social studies, US history, civics, and American government. Let's see. Stephen? Okay, do I have a second? Cawley, okay. We got first. All right, any discussion? Steve, do you wanna kick it off?
You know, a quick comment, you know, this item, in contrast to AP textbooks, which basically you just have to go with, you know, with the course. This, you know, we often talk about the Madison way of doing things, and, you know, the presentation around this curriculum, you know, the team of teachers and faculty members, I mean, really did due diligence in terms of really designing and altering and amending to be responsive to the students and the timeframes that they're working with. You know, it was very impressive. I think we can have real confidence that this is very much in line with the quality of the curriculum that we've come to expect from our people.
Question.
Yes.
So my first question is, so the US history is not a push, it's a different course, right? Do they align at all? Or do they cover the same things, just in a different way?
The content is for reader and in the AP course, that's a college level course, so. The themes were, I'm trying to see where my presentation is. Yeah, some of it does,
Some of it's
I don't know the content that well of the AP course, but some of it definitely does, because it goes through imperialism, progressive era, 20s, depression, World War II.
I was just curious, because when I first saw it, I was thinking it was a push, and then I was informed by my daughter that no, it's a different course. And then my other question
Is
is,
correct.
like how different is this curriculum, like for instance, for civics, right? Because you know, we have these courses now. So how much change is there from the current curriculum to these new curriculums?
Yeah, so really it's the way that it was organized. So the organization in the prior iteration was more thematic, and this is more sequential and according to historical events. So it was just a different angle on teaching it. They felt that that was clearer for the students and that they could find the progression in history better in that regard. But you know, a lot of the content itself is pretty similar. The adjustment to civics was more around creating a civic action investigation rather than having to do a project. So kind of honoring the idea of civic action as knowing how to take an action rather than having to take action.
Yeah, and one thing that was interesting was that I thought this was great, was during their presentation, they really pointed out how not only did the curriculum drafters, the teachers step back and look at what was working and what wasn't, but they got input from the students. And that input led to the more sequential approach. And it's, you know, I think it helps. One of the things they mentioned is, you know, they felt like students weren't quite comprehending where things fit in history on a timeline. And so the sequential arrangement kind of brings that back. Maybe it's a little more like how we learned it when we were young. But at the same time, I think it brings more sensibility, more sense.
So it's a lot of the same content sort of reorganized. And
Absolutely.
thank you.
Yeah. Thanks.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor of the motion to approve the following curriculum units, grade 6 social studies, US history, civics, and American government, say aye. Aye. All in favor, nay. And any abstentions? Motion carries 8-0. Thank you. Action item 12, motion to rescind the following policies. 9550 board hearings / appeal proceedings. 9850 board member insurance / liability. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Diane. Seconded by Steve. To rescind those policies, any discussion?
I just like to make a point, these are 9,000 series, so it requires a 2/3 vote.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. All opposed, nay. Any abstentions?
Did you get this?
Yeah, Christine, you were off for a second. How did you vote? Aye. Okay, thank you. Okay, so that carries 8-0. All right, action item 13. I need a motion to approve the following policies: 9440 board superintendent relationship, 9540.5 parliamentarian, 9540.12 broadcasting / taping of meetings, and 3542.4 meal charging.
So moved.
Moved by Diane. Do I have a second?
Second.
Emily? Thank you. Any discussion on these?
I'm just gonna point out again, the 9,000 series requires 2/3 vote to be approved. And just a note to the policy summaries regarding 9540.5 parliamentarian, the entire policy committee wanted to keep that policy, not just me.
Sure.
I'll
they
take
did.
that credit.
All right, any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, aye. All opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries 8-0. Thank you. Action item number 14, motion, I need a motion to approve the minutes of the April 2nd, 2024 Board of Education meeting.
So moved.
Thanks by Ann, seconded by Galen. All right, any discussion, any recommended edits or changes?
All good.
All good, there you go. Yeah, we know it's good. All in favor, aye. All opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Seeing none, motion carries 8-0. Any suggested future agenda items? No, I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Diane,
Second that.
seconded by Emily. And that's a motion to adjourn at 8:40 p.m. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Any abstentions? No. Motion carries 8-0. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Yeah.